Okay, today's project is some drywall patch. I had a leaky pipe coming in to my toilet. There was a copper line coming in. There was a fitting that was corroded, and it was really a super slow leak. And this is what was left after the repair was done. So it's a little too much of a hole to patch with spackle. So I've never did a video on using this Evercoat Formula 27 all-purpose filler on drywall, but I'm gonna do a drywall patch here with this Evercoat 27, and should be pretty easy. I think I can fill it in one coat and then sand it. It doesn't, because that cover is going to be on it, it doesn't need to look real pretty. So I'm gonna cut this loose stuff out down here. Minimal. I'm gonna do a minimal cut, just a loose kind of paper covering on the drywall, and then I'm gonna mask the molding and then come in with my filler. And I don't have any matching paint. This is, I don't know when this house was painted, way before I got here. But yeah, I'm gonna try to, localize my repair, because I'm not gonna paint it. I'll probably stick some white primer on it, but then that's it. I don't have any matching paint for this, so that's what we're doing today. All right, so I'm gonna just, like I said, cut as little of this as possible, and I'm going left-handed because I can barely fit in here. I'm not going to dig out all that loose drywall. That my patch material will fill all that in. But any pieces that stick out, it's going to be hard to blend flush. I'm just trying to get the pieces that are kind of sticking out. I'm not too ambidextrous, so this is left-handed. Yeah, I had to hire a plumber for this one because I didn't have again, it was one of those jobs where I could have done it, but I would have had the water off for potentially more than a couple hours, which is an issue. All right, so I think that's all I'm going to cut out. Anything that falls out, I'll let it fall out, but my patch material should get in there. All this up here will be covered with the ring. So that's it. Yeah, I'm not worried about that. There's a little bulge here, but maybe it won't cut that. All right, that's good. All right, so I've got the masking done. I'm gonna basically apply the patch and then just pull the masking off immediately. I do need some backing in here. There's, it's pretty deep that, so I'm just gonna shove some, I had some fiberglass handy. I just cut a strip of fiberglass. I'm going to shove that in there. And I would prefer steel wool, brass wool. I just didn't feel like digging it out from my shed. This was handy for me. Because this patch material dries so fast, it dries in, 10 minutes. So I just don't want it falling. Once it catches, it just needs a little something to catch it so it doesn't fall back in that hole. And then it dries so fast that it's not a problem with it plopping out. So I'm going to cut a little bit more of that fiberglass and shove in there. All right. Got a little bit more cloth. Make sure all my little strings are tucked in behind. All right, I think that's good. I'm afraid I'm kind of lazy, and I'm afraid I'm going to end up having to do 2 coats. That first coat will fill in fine there. But I don't know if I can get it, half an inch thick on 1 coat. Probably not. But, all right, mix coat up and shove it in there. I found it's easier to mix this stuff up, Evercoat 27, in a bowl. Just easier to work with. So first thing I do is mix up the base material, then I add the hardener after I get this mixed up. So you want to get this mixed up real good, kind of like peanut butter, so you see no oil, until it's nice and smooth gray with no oil. So the directions call for a 3-inch puddle, and then you put a strip of hardener across the puddle. And you really don't want to mix up any more than that because it sets up so hard. And I don't know of any areas big enough that you would want to put more than that at one shot. Just to mix my hardener up a little bit. I always use plastic putty knives because they're pretty much ruined for anything else once you get this on it. So I'm just going to run a ribbon from side to side. Like so. And then mix it in good. This bowl makes it much easier for mixing. So you're not spreading out over a giant area. Yeah, I'm afraid I'm gonna have to come in with a second coat, but I'm gonna try. My objective is to fill that hole in with just this material. I don't really care about around the pipe because it's going to be covered with that decorative piece. And then I'll sand the edge when I take the masking tape off. At that edge, I'll do a sand, blend it in, and then put a little primer on it, and then that's going to be the finished product. All right, let's go apply it. So I am on the clock with this stuff. It sets up so fast, so if my camera stays where it is, good. If it falls, that's where it's going to stay. Problem is I can't get my shoulders in next to the toilet, so going in left-handed. Laying in there as quick as I can, as heavy as I can. Believe it or not, that's as good as I can get it. And I don't know if I'll be able to get away with just the one application, but I've got to get this masking tape off here. Don't get this on anything on your tile or anywhere else. All right. A little smuts there. All right, so that's what I'm going to leave it. It's going to be drying about 3 more minutes, and then I'm going to sand it and see what it looks like. But that'll be a solid, when it dries, that'll be rock hard. And before I started, there was actually cool air. It's about 32 degrees outside. I could feel cold air blowing in through there. Okay, I let that filler dry for about an hour and a half, and then I couldn't get my orbital sander in there. So I just used this 40 grit orbital sandpaper and sanded it down by hand. So I put this masking on here just so I knew where the wall was, and I didn't take paint off the wall. So now I'm going to come in with spackle. Now that I've got all the holes filled, I can come in with spackle and normal spackle and fill in the rest of it. So it'll be, I'm going to try to get all this the area that's going to be exposed level, and fill this in with spackle. But the the bad spot is now filled in with that filler, which is what I was trying to accomplish. So now I'm going to get my spackle and get a nice flat surface with the spackle. I just took this 40 grit paper by hand and sanded that down. I've got, I think, all the high spots knocked down. Now I can just fill in with the spackle and then prime, and then it should be pretty sealed up from as opposed to what it was before. So that was my goal. So yeah, that Evercoat did a pretty good job. It's nice and solid. So that's what I was looking for. I didn't want to cut out drywall and piece back in drywall. So yeah, I could probably come back in with another coat of that, but it's good enough. There's the rest of it will fill in nice with spackle. So that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, so now I'm coming in with standard spackle. I use Sherwin-Williams shrink free spackle. I'm gonna try to get at this with my right hand. Again, I'm trying to focus on the area that's going to be outside of that decorative ring. With the spackling, it could be a little take more time and apply it to a finished surface, unlike that filler. I'm kind of working blind here. While I'm here, I'm going to shove some spackle in there. And I'm going to rely on the sanding to finish that off. Okay, it's the next day. Spackle's all dried. So now I'm going to sand that down. Just a light sand. These are 120 used orbital sanding discs. And I'm just going to, this should come off real light. Trying to get a nice smooth surface for the primer. All right, I think that's pretty good. I got a little bit of a low spot here, but yeah, I'm not gonna worry about that. I can come back in with some spackle, but that I want to get this job wrapped up right now. So I'm gonna get some primer and put some primer on there. It'll stay like that until next time the house is painted. Then it will be ready to go. All right, put a piece of masking tape on here because I can't get in close enough to do a precise job. I'm 2 feet away doing this left-handed. So, and I'm just using my multi-purpose latex primer that I had. And I'm just gonna do one coat, left-handed. There it is. Okay, so there's the finished product. The damaged area solidly repaired. And whenever we do decide to paint the house again, this will be ready to go. So yeah, I'm happy with that. So two product filler. I use the all-purpose filler to get the structural, a nice structural solid patch on there. And then since that stuff is so hard to, especially in the position that I'm working in, hard to get down to a finished surface, I just did the rough sand on it and then came back in with a spackle, and that seemed to be the way to go. So all-purpose filler, spackle, primer, good to go. Peace out till next one.